So this trip in Asia seemed to be going along relatively non-controversial until this weekend, Jessica. What happened? Was Donald Trump just tired, or you got tired of behaving?
I really liked, I think it was Mark Landler kind of did the New York Times write-up, and that's exactly how he characterized it. You know, Trump read his script, he was on good behavior all week, and then as soon as the weekend hit, he just went bananas on Twitter. And Mark Landler asked the same question, is he tired? Is it because Melania went home and Melania has this sort of moderating influence on him? But it was just one of those times where you really, really feel like we're talking about the President of the United States as if he's a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Saturday morning. We all wake up. I don't know if you guys still have the Donald Trump tweeted alerts on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
But I do. It's a great way to start your weekend.
Awesome when he's in like 12 time zones over.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no. I get the first thing I see on my phone in the morning of the Donald Trump tweet.
You don't set an alarm anymore.
Yeah.
I have to tell you something. I got off of Twitter. Best thing I ever did. I don't have to see that crap anymore.
Man.
So he says, among other things, right, that when it comes to, well, Jamie, we've got a little sound here from Donald Trump talking about Vladimir Putin. Putin says he didn't do it, and I believe Vladimir Putin.
I believe that President Putin really feels, and he feels strongly, that he did not meddle in our election.
So therefore,
great.
I believe him.
We're good.
Yeah. Putin looks me in the eye and says, I didn't do it. And Donald Trump, it's good enough for me.
Yep. Can stop all this Russia investigation stuff.
Right.
Thank God that's over.
Yeah. That was a real pain in the butt.
So what does this mean for his relationship with the intelligence agencies?
I mean, I don't know how much more he really could piss off the intelligence community, to be honest. He has a pretty strong ally in Mike Pompeo, who is inherently more political than a lot of previous CIA directors. But aside from that, I mean, all the career intel people are just so frustrated. D&I Director Coates has been pretty much out of the picture, does not speak in public much. His predecessor, Clapper, sort of took it upon himself to be the face of the intelligence community. And he sort of set the tone for how the entire intelligence community interacted and was dealing with the president. And Coates has just sort of sat that one out, which you can sort of take his silence as a sign of frustration.
Cameron, let me. John Brennan, former CIA director, was on State of the Union yesterday on CNN. Let me just hear what he says and get your reaction from both of you. But
it demonstrates to Mr. Putin that Donald Trump can be played by foreign leaders who are going to appeal to his ego and to try to play upon his insecurities, which is very, very worrisome from a national security standpoint.
Don't you think?
I think that's just absolutely true. I think what we've seen this trip was that Donald Trump still, and I don't know why anyone would be surprised by this, lacks the discipline to continue with whatever his own advisors are telling him to do, and B, actually like keep focus for more than a few minutes at a time on some stuff. And you see this happen time and again, where Donald Trump for a few days seems like, okay, maybe you don't like what he's saying, but at least he's following a playbook. And then he, gets a few minutes by himself with TV and his Twitter machine, and it's all over again. And I think that, this is, I did a story about a week ago, because it's the 1-year anniversary of his election, about all the things that he's undone and the things that are like deeply damaging. And the two things that I think are the longest lasting are the courts, obviously, which we don't need to get into.
Right.
But this just kind of unwinding of democratic norms and the rule of law. And what he does, it just whimsically, haphazardly, I think is super complicating for foreign policy and undoes American power.
So when he has this in his hand, right, he's tough and he's insulting and he's everything. But remember in the campaign, he went down to see the president of Mexico and demand that the guy was going to pay for the fence. And he didn't even talk about it.
Yeah.
At least according to
he doesn't like confrontation.
Right. According to the president of Mexico, he didn't even raise the issue.
Yeah.
He wants to be liked so badly. He's so
yes,
desperate for
exactly.
approval.
That's
and
what
when
I'm
Putin
getting
says,
to.
hey, I just want to be your friend. Let's cooperate on Syria. Let's cooperate on North Korea. Like, here's a man, Trump, who is extremely emotional. He's extremely reactive. He trusts his instincts to an absurd level. And he's facing off with a former KGB agent who's looking at this guy, watching him backtrack on so many demands and promises.
You believe the KGB guy over our CIA guy. Hello. But so again, the confrontation with Putin, he says he raised this issue with Putin. The Putin people say he didn't even talk about it. Then he meets with Duterte, who bragged over the weekend he killed his first person when he was 15.
Yep.
And Donald Trump says, and I talked to him about human rights, and the Duterte people said, he never raised the issue.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, whether or not he
could meet with Kim Jong-un and probably give him a kiss on the lips.
Well, but I mean, the Duterte thing is interesting because I don't know whether to believe Duterte or Trump. I don't know whether to believe Duterte or Trump.
Well,
about
that
whether
says something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just that fact, I think, is startling, and it's funny, but like we can't overlook the fact that, and that says a lot about, I think, where America's position in the world is. That like we don't know whether this routine lying tin pot dictator in the Philippines who's killing drug users en masse is telling the truth, or whether Donald Trump is telling the truth, because we can't trust what our own president says now. And if we can't, you think that any other world powers have any faith in that he's going to live up to his word and that he'd follow through in his promises? Like, this is hurting American power in a way that is insidious and problematic. And I think that I don't see how it gets any better as long as Trump is president.